Guys, thank you for being with us today. My name is Henri Arslanian again, and today we're going to have a very exciting panel about the bridge of what's happening between TradFi and crypto. And of course, we're going to talk about all the latest with Binance. I promise you, I know we only have a couple minutes together, but we'll make it fun, exciting, insightful, and of course, interesting because I'm joined by the one and only Richard Teng. Richard, CEO of Binance. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Fun fact, by the way, Richard, many people know him as the CEO of Binance. You know, after he finished his military service in Singapore, and I'm kid you not, he was selling durian in a store in Singapore before he went to university. The forbidden fruit, by the way, I love in Singapore. You're not allowed to have it in
I hope you
Singapore.
love it.
There you go, from selling durians to now running Binance. Richard, great to have you with us today. By the way, Richard, I want to start. We're in the UAE now. We're in Dubai. You were literally one of the pioneers of the crypto scene here in setting up literally the rules in Abu Dhabi back in the day. Did you expect one day that the biggest crypto conference in the world would be actually here?
No, at that point in time, I know about crypto in 2017 when I visited the US
Yep.
at a financial industry association. And I go there almost every year. But that edition was different. You see a lot of crypto boys coming through. And the more I talk to them, the more I dive into this area, I really believe this is going to be the future of finance. We have come a long way since, but I thought the movement will be much faster. And I always think that for crypto to go mainstream, you need two elements. One, regulatory clarity, which then I provided. And then secondly, institutional adoption that we saw in 2024. And the momentum is very strong now.
So do you find the institutional adoption movement right now is stronger than it was? Because we've had institutional adoption waves over the years. Do you believe now it's different from the previous waves we've had?
Absolutely. So if you look at, I think the game changer started last year with the approval of ETFs,
Yep.
right? So I think that started, and then you have a lot of financial institutions that used to be skeptic, and then suddenly you have Larry Finn from BlackRock coming out to say, I used to be a skeptic, now I'm a believer. Fidelity, Charles Schwab, and everybody else starting to jump on the bandwagon. I think that's a big shift. I mean, last year, we started the year with 170 million users, ended the year with 240 million users. So we added 70 million new users throughout the course of last year. Now we are like north of 270 million. So in the course of 15 months, we added 100 million users. But a lot of them are coming through as institutions, right? So yeah, the sovereigns, the semi-sovereigns, the family offices, the high net worth individuals, the allocators, the funds, people that just trade commodities, FX, stocks and bonds in the past are now adding a crypto trading desk, right? So we see a lot. So last year, in terms of institutional investors, we added, new onboarding of 97%. This year, in the first quarter, the momentum is very, very strong.
Basically doubled from that side. Are you finding as a CEO to cater to institutional clients, is it really much different you find from a Binance perspective than dealing with retail? Of course, retail clients are very different, but also from the products that institutional clients are asking for, do you find there's meaningful differences?
A lot of differences. By the way, this is not my normal voice. If you hear, I normally sound either better or worse off depending on what you like, but I'm nursing a very bad throat. So
Well, you need some durian, a simple durian to get you back up on that.
I think that will get it even worse.
There we go.
But if you think about it, we serve clientele across a big spectrum, right? So from people that are buy and hold to people that are active traders, to high frequency traders, etc., to people in different regions, and all the different segments have different needs, right? So the institutions have different needs, and we tailor products, we tailor solutions for them. Throughout the course of last year, for example, we introduced things like tri-party
Yep.
arrangement, working with banks, because a lot of the institutions, a lot of, say, family offices, they are much more familiar with the banking setup. Okay, so they want their money to sit there, better cross-margining when they trade crypto. So we work with banks to give them that solutions. We introduce Binance Wealth that allows for asset managers that have discretionary management of their clients to tap into crypto, right? So we continue to understand the needs of different sector in different regions and then tailor them accordingly. So the sort of offerings for us in Latin America
Yep.
might look slightly different from what we offer in Middle Eastern, Africa region, and will look slightly different from Asia Pacific because the needs are slightly different.
So on that particular point, for example, what have you found very surprising of the needs of certain region versus others? Is there something like that you didn't expect that you saw a certain region wanted that you didn't see other places?
No, I mean, if you look at the developed countries, for
Yeah.
instance, right? So if you look at US, Singapore, Hong Kong here, here is exceptional, right? Because there's a very high crypto adoption
Yeah.
in this town. But if you look at most developed jurisdiction, there's less pain points in terms of payments. There's less pain points in terms of store of wealth because most people have one, two, three bank accounts. But if you look at large part of the world, I get involved in financial services sector for the last 30 years. And since day one, I was in the sector, central banks, financial institutions, bang their chest to say, we are all for financial inclusion. We need to bring more people into the financial system. But even today, after more than 30 years in the financial system, 1.7 billion people in the world are unbanked, are underbanked, have no access to payment services. And crypto then becomes that solution for them, right? So if you look at many parts of the world, the only way to do domestic payment or cross-border payment, the store of wealth for them is either stable coins, Bitcoin, some other majors, or cryptocurrency in general. And generally, if you look at it, a lot of countries went through hyperinflationary situation in the last few years. So you're much better off holding to crypto or stable coins, right? Because a lot of currency has depreciated against the US dollars in the last few years. So you see crypto in action and the adoption there is much faster. The needs there are slightly different from those in developed countries, right? So developing countries, frontier markets versus developed markets, the preferences are different.
And don't you think on that, if let's say we're back here in 2035 years from now, right? Because you just mentioned, obviously you're catering to the institutional market, you're doing Binance Wealth, you'd have the wealth management arm, people are using it for commercial transactions. So pretty much everything now Binance does, in theory, you're competing against a bank. But this 1.7 billion that are unbanked, there's a whole new market that the banks often cannot cater. How do you see Binance then in 5 years? Do you believe, we often talk that Binance could be the bank of the future, right? Do you believe that this is actually a reality that could happen, or that's not the direction of travel that you guys have?
I think it's really happening. So if you look at it, we believe that we'll be a super app with our clientele base, 270 million and growing very, very quickly. We are now licensed in 21 different jurisdictions, making us the most regulated exchange globally, and many more to come. So we are working with a number of governments that have approached us to give them consultation on the right framework to set up to start regulating crypto. Two-thirds of global jurisdictions still have not started to regulate crypto, by the way. So you're going to see a lot more clarity coming through. What is happening in the US in terms of rules and regulations, I think will give a lot of certainty. And having a pro-crypto president, and recently I think you have seen US is working with UK
Yeah.
to try to push forth with crypto adoption. I think all those are positive news. So, and if you talk to any people in their 20s and 30s, which I suspect a lot of you are here, once they know crypto, once they understand the beauty of it, they will not move back.
Yeah.
Right? So if you are into, let's say, crypto investments, and if you look at data points around the world, in terms of youth, young adult, the first investment anybody make is into crypto.
Absolutely.
And by the time they are in their 30s, 70% of the assets are in crypto investments, not like stocks and bonds, unlike my time. So the landscape has changed drastically. And if you ask them, they will not shift back to traditional finance because there's so much friction point, so much pain point. It's so costly to use that. I think the previous panel I've highlighted today, if you use the very archaic banking infrastructure, if you do a cross-border transfer, it takes 2 to 3 days for the recipient to receive the money, and they charge you very high fees for it. Crypto is instantaneous, right? If you look at stock trading, clearing and settlement takes T+2, T+3. Crypto, again, clearing and settlement risk is eliminated. So it's a totally different business model. It's very smooth, it's instantaneous. Things can be tracked, right? It's traceable. So there's so much beauty to this, and the more people understand that, the more they'll come onto the bandwagon. So the likes of Fidelity, Standard Chartered now are doing their own stablecoin because they understand this is going to change the world. And if they don't embrace it sooner rather than later, you'll lose out on the game.
It's ironic as well, but they don't want to ban crypto firms, but they're happy to embrace stablecoins.
I think they're changing their approach now.
But you're absolutely right on even how people are using it. I just came back from, I'm Armenian by background, I just came back from Armenia. A lot of young people, their biggest assets they're holding are all crypto.
Absolutely.
So it's quite incredible from that perspective. From your perspective though, when you look, you mentioned regulators and the regulatory framework. You were previously a regulator, right, for many years at the MAS. How do you think this is going to change moving forward? Like obviously here in ADGM has done a great job adapting. Dubai, we have the world's first crypto regulator. There's a reason a lot of this is happening here in town. How do you see the next 5 years when it comes to the contrasts between regulators and the businesses that want to be regulated like you guys? You think it's be harmonious? Do you think we'll have conflicts? We'll have incidents? How do you think it will happen?
I don't think regulation will be harmonious. I do think that we are moving from a period of regulatory uncertainty, right? In the past 4 years, I think everyone that's involved in crypto, there's oppression in the US, right, under the Biden administration. Now it's totally different. It's 180 degrees change in the US. And US being the deepest capital market in the world, that sea change in terms of attitude will have significant repercussions throughout the world, right? So now US and UK wants to push forward in terms of crypto adoption. I think our European regulators start to take note and the politicians say, hey, what if we are being left out? So you have
changed Binance's approach to the US and the UK, countries that obviously at one point Binance was not as active recently.
Well, we are always, I mean, we have historical issues and we have resolved most of them, but we are always trying to solve problems, right, historically with countries, and we have moved past all the past episodes now. We are deploying globally. So we are always willing to lend our weight, because for any government around the world, they are serious in terms of building their own crypto ecosystem. There's no better player to partner than the largest ecosystem in town, right? We offer the deepest liquidity. Most of the institutions come to us because of the narrowest beta spread. You save substantially by trading over time. So we are working with quite a number of governments now.
Absolutely.
Globally, they come to us.
You mentioned obviously being the largest player in not only counting globally. Do you believe that one day can also be a challenge because you guys are a dominant player, like we've seen other industries, right? With the biggest industry being the spotlight being always on them.
Absolutely. So I think it's quite important not to be complacent. For us, it's very important that we continue to innovate.
Yeah.
We continue to understand the user needs and continue to have those trust and confidence. We invest huge amount of money to make sure that assets are properly safeguarded, right? So if you look at last year and this year, there are quite a number of big episodes on hacking that impact investor confidence, right? In terms of security, in terms of compliance, our compliance headcount now is about 1,300 people globally. So we have made huge investment on that space. Product features, we keep pushing out new products that our user wants, right? So I think that's extremely important, staying ahead of the curve, making sure that you understand the development, the changes, and making sure that you continue to be the best-in-class platform to serve users in terms of their needs.
What was your reaction, even on a human basis, when you heard about the hack, the Bybit hack, for example? Because we can argue it could have happened to any business in the room, right? The way it was done. Do you think this is something we'll see more and more? Like, what was your reaction on it?
I think that if you think about it, the hackers are getting much more sophisticated.
Yeah.
And with the usage of AI that's developing by the day, I think the hacks will become much more sophisticated. So you have to continue to invest greatly into areas of security. Not only platform level security, so we have multi-level platform security, but user level security is actually important, right? So you receive text, Telegram message, WhatsApp, etc., depending on which platform you're on. And if you're not careful, the user level security can be compromised. So we spend a lot of time educating our users as well. How do you safeguard your device? How do you make sure that you're safe, etc.? So we need everyone to play a part. But the hackers will become much, much more sophisticated. And we have to spend a lot of time, money, energy to stay ahead of that curve.
What's your, when you look at let's say the next year, there's a lot of things going on in the world, right? From tariffs coming up, there's still wars going on, there's recession risk, and so on and so forth. When you look at the adoption of digital assets, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies more generally, are you optimistic for the years, the months ahead? Like and also some of the data I'm sure you guys are seeing with adoption and new clients coming in. How do you see the next 12 months?
I'm very bullish.
Really?
So just take out the noise from time to time. So no asset class is immune from macroeconomic conditions, right? So from tariff concern, from currency war concern, from wars, no asset class is immune from that. But if you take out that, and those could cause quite a fair bit of short-term volatility.
Yeah.
You take that equation out of the way and you look at the long-term momentum, right? Where is this asset class going towards? So today we have about 7% crypto adoption globally. And the path forward is very, very strong. Firstly, you have more and more regulators, more and more government coming on board now. I think that's very important because they are going to give clarity to this space. That will make sure that, the early adopters, like most of you, the first 5% of any population, those are early adopters.
Yep.
But the next 5%, they probably want some form of assurance. Hey, my government or my regulators are looking at that.
Yep.
And if you want to go from, let's say, 5% to 40% adoption globally, you need all these pillars to be in place, right? So you need that. You need the institutions to come through, which we are seeing that.
Yeah.
The sovereign wealth funds are now starting to allocate into this space, right? So US saying that we're going to have a Bitcoin asset stockpile or Bitcoin reserve. I think if you're other government and you look at this and you invest across different asset classes, say, hey, US being one of the largest capital markets of the world, investing into this space, I should be there or get ahead of the curve, right? To make sure that I stay with what's coming through. So we see a lot of those positive trends. And the fact that every financial institution today is doing some form of crypto, have a crypto initiative, have a crypto agenda, they're pushing forward with different things, right? So RWA, stablecoins, country are pushing forward with CBDCs. UAE just announced AED stablecoin as well, right?
Exactly.
So you're seeing all these things coming true. So the future is one that is going to be very heavily invested into blockchain and crypto.
A lot of these things we discussed now would have been unthinkable even a couple of years from now. So Richard, with the minute we have left, my best friend, the Bell, is here with me. I'm going to ask you quick questions and I need 1 or 2 word answers. Hope you're ready?
All right, let's go.
We're ready or not, we're still going, so might as well. Richard, what's your favorite thing? You're based in the UAE. What's your favorite thing about the UAE the audience should know about?
Food.
Food. Here we go, coming from a true Singaporean. When you're not working at Binance on the weekend, what's your favorite thing to do to relax?
Netflix.
Netflix. Favorite series on Netflix people should watch?
Oh gosh. I have so many. I don't have one particular one. I watch all genres.
If you were not in the crypto industry and you can go and work in one certain industry, what industry would you pick? Not crypto.
My aspiration was to be a tax advisor.
Tax advisor. Here we go. Making taxes great again on that side. Maybe we can pay that with crypto. That's another good way. What's the one thing you would like to see the crypto community do more than you wish, that we don't do now, that you wish we would do more?
These are funny crowd people. But what I wish people do spend a lot more attention is to build good use cases with utility.
Yeah.
Because that will push crypto adoption even further.
Richard, you can go back to school tomorrow. And what's the one
Buy
course?
crypto.
No. What's the one course you would take you wish you had taken?
Risk management.
Risk management. Oh, here we go. This is a tricky one. You launch a new startup tomorrow. You can choose one crypto founder that you're going to launch the business with outside of CZ. Who would you launch a business with?
I will work with anybody that have a great idea.
And the last question, Richard, my traditional question, whoever comes on stage with me, to finish it off this panel at TOKEN2049, you can have lunch or dinner with one person dead or alive. Lunch or dinner with one person dead or alive. Who would you have lunch or dinner?
I'm a great admirer of Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, here we go.
So I will have...
The Americans in the room, he wants to have lunch with. That was Richard Teng, CEO of Binance. Thank you very much, everybody. See you guys soon.